What is going on, folks? How you guys doing? Hope everyone's having a good Friday today. Hope everyone's enjoying themselves. I know that today being Friday is not the usual day that we go live. And I kind of owe you guys, our community members, a live feed. Unfortunately, we had to have a lot of things taken care of. Trying to stabilize a good foundation for streaming more frequently. So we're going through some changes and making that happen. So today, we're going to pick up right where we left off last Wednesday. Let me see, make sure. You guys can hear me though, right? You can comment, let me know you guys can hear me good. Just want to make sure everything's good because I'm trying some different things out today. But with that said, guys, so we got a great show lined up for you guys today. We're going to go over the gold trim kit that is offered for the 64 platform, as well as the chrome accessories that we now offer as well. We've seen quite a bit of people call in and having some problems with replacing of the differential itself, the housing, the going from the black plastic housing to the chrome one. So today on our live feed, I'm going to go over how to do that so that you, the end user, the community member, can hopefully get that taken care of. Hold on, let me hit my switch. Yeah, I'm good, I'm back. So hopefully you guys can get the help that you need to take care of your guys' swap this weekend, so that hopefully I get to start seeing some cool pictures that you guys share with us as well. So that's what I always enjoy seeing. Sounds good, a little crunchy. It's gonna sound a little crunchy because it's rubbing up against my beard down here. So let me move that down a little bit. Let's see here. There, that should be a little bit better, hopefully. But what's going on, everyone? I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday, having a good time. Let me say what's up to some folks here. Louie, what's going on? Casper, Gary, Art, Tony. We got the norm. We got the usual guys here. So that's what's up. All right, guys. So let's get into it. Those of you guys that have been following the Redcat scene with the 64 know that the last couple weeks I've actually been doing some stuff not related to the 64. So today we're going to just try to focus a little more on the lowrider scene. I'm sorry for my crawler buddies that are on here that want to talk a little bit more about said crawlers and marksmans and Wendigos and bashers. I do apologize. Today we're going to flip it back up and talk 64 and RC lowrider. So for a lot of you guys that have been following along on the pages and on our website, you guys have noticed that we actually started releasing the really highly anticipated gold kit, right? The gold trim kit comes with the front rear bumpers, the grille, all the trim pieces that you would need, like you see on this car sitting right here. Right, you see all the chrome pieces on there, the gold pieces, sorry. The only thing I haven't done to this one is replace the window chrome trim pieces just yet, which I will get to eventually. But it was a great drop. A lot of you guys had asked for it, and it's been something that I know we've teased you guys about for quite some time. So I do appreciate you guys being patient and allowing them to come, and they're here. And I've seen a lot of you guys buy them regardless of whether or not you're going to use them, because you're like, I got to have it, right? And that's kind of the basis of how I ended up with two cars, right? These are my cars, but the body on this one is not. And the body on this one, I have to share with you guys. And those of you guys that have not seen it, this is the famous autism awareness themed 64 body that was just recently done by Louis Alcala. Louis put a lot of heart and soul and dedication into this bad boy, and this vehicle is actually going to be raffled on August 21st at an autism awareness event in Northern California. So it is sitting on my chassis for now so that we can display it and have you guys check it out. And this one already has all of the gold stuff done to it. So we'll flip this thing off to the side a little bit, and I don't want to damage it. So let me hold on to it. There we go. There's your chrome goodies that are now being offered. I see chrome. But these are the accessories that are now offered. The frame rails, the transmission case, the trunk pan, the differential housing. Shoot, we even offer the front control arms, which you guys can hopefully see. Hit the light and my big old hands get out of the way. There you go. You see, they got the chrome stuff all underneath. You know, these are all things that you guys as a community have asked us for quite some time about and wanted to know when these types of things were going to be released. And like we promised you guys, we're working on a lot of great stuff, a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be bringing you guys within the next couple months still. So stay tuned. Don't go very far. Keep an eye on it because things are going to start dropping and you guys are going to go, I promise you, it's going to be worth the wait for everything. And this stuff that we're doing right now is no different. So a little bit about this body. Louis Halcala, I reached out to him. I said, hey, brother, check it out. I'm doing this raffle for our autism awareness event. It's our 5th year, and we wanted to do something very special. So he whipped up this body. It had he put a silver base flake on the inside, and then he started laying the candies that you see on the outside in the patterns. There are the iconic symbol for autism awareness and autism in general, which is a puzzle piece. It has been known to be a little controversial for some folks, and out of respect, we wanted just to keep it with what we know the norm has always been. But we got some puzzle pieces on the hood of the vehicle, and they're actually here, and here. There's some on the hood as well, and even some on the trunk. Down this center scallop is a bunch of tiny little puzzle pieces that were inlaid in there as well. And then of course on the side you see the cross with the ASD and puzzle piece theme there as well. On the back deck there, and you won't be able to see it on camera, but on the pictures that we took, you can clearly see it's got the ASD father-son logo on the back and a Reefs RC logo on the front. Louis didn't feel that was enough. He said, you know what, that's cool. I painted this body for you, but we need to do just a little bit more. So he took this bad boy and engraved every bit of the trim, the chrome trim that you see all over the car, down the sides. He even put trim around the seats and the dash. Everything has been engraved. So it gives it this very iconic, very unique look to it. And I really cannot wait to see who takes this bad boy home because it's going to be a beautiful car. So that is that. Let's look at a little bit closer at what is going on underneath so that we can show you a little bit more closer in depth on the chrome parts that we will be discussing here today. Make sure I'm not missing any questions. Sorry guys, if it looks crazy with the green screen, my apologies. Let's see. It looks transparent. I'm so sorry about that, guys. Maybe if I stand in front of it like this, you guys can see it a little bit better without the reflection of the green screen. There we go. There's the engraving. So we're going to put that bad boy off to the side, somewhere nice and safe. Make sure that everything looks good, sounds good. All right, where are we at? Let's see. All right, so underneath the chassis on this car, pretty standard car. This is my first car that I built. And let me just move some of this stuff around. I got pumps and stuff that I'm still working on the display of. Here we go. All right. So now that we offer the chrome package for this car, we offer a couple different options or things that you are going to want to do to your car to make it unique. Everything, like I said, from the trunk pan in the back to the frame rails to the axle, all the way to the front suspension arms as well. You can see on the front arms there. We even offer the second version toe-in correction parts already done in chrome as well. There was a disclaimer that we let folks know about, which is sometimes when the chrome pieces were dipped, there were spots of black plastic still showing where they were actually dipped from. So I noticed that when I did mine, and it wasn't a big deal, I just put the black parts on the inside, and it was mainly, personally for me, the most obvious one was the toe and correction parts, the Z-frame tie rod. I just ended up putting the part that was exposed with black and not chrome facing down and on the inside, the center of the chassis itself, right here, not the outer sides. And that hit it perfectly. Honestly, there's nothing that I can say that I don't like about it so far. Adding of the chrome did change the tolerances a little tiny bit when you're assembling things. And I'll show you a little trick that I found when I did this axle that helped me, and we'll show you on this other car as we do it as well, so that it can help you guys. The transmission being done in chrome as well, which you can see right here in the middle, was a nice addition. You don't get to see much of that in the bottom. It only exposes maybe about 1 inch or 2 of actual plastic. So if there was one thing, if you're on a budget and you want to do other things and you're like, what's the one thing that I can probably get away with not doing? It probably would be the transmission case. But if you're like me, and like I know a lot of our awesome community members are, replacing everything is just going to have to go with the flow. So, because you want to have all the goodies, right? I mean, why do it at all and leave it, half done? So I get it. Let's see, double check in. All right. So guys, to answer the question on the 64, that body is actually going to be done at a event off-site. It is for a group called ASD Crawlers, which I am thankfully a part of. So that is not available to the masses in that fashion, but it will be available to the people that arrive at that event August 21st. Check it out, asdcrawlersrc.com or asdcrawlers.com. Make sure you check them out, and if you're in the area in California, Northern California, and want to go to a cool event, make sure you check that one out as well. Redcat is one of the sponsors for that event, because we also stand behind autism awareness, and we want to support any way we can. So all right, let's get to it. Changes. Let me see. All right. So I'm going to change screens because, again, one of the key things that we've noticed with folks having a problem with has been replacing this differential. And I have to agree, when I first did mine the first few times, I found those little things. It's really simple. It's not very much, but because of the added chrome, sometimes the tolerances where the screws go into for the mounts of the upper shocks or even the links might be a little bit tighter than you like to see. So I'm gonna show you a little trick that works really well if you have the right tool for the job. And if you don't, the tool that I'm gonna show you does exactly what we need to do. So I'm gonna change to the overhead screen, and we're gonna take apart my blue car so we can take the rear axle off. The start to finish installation, Jeff, double check, let me know, are you talking about all of the items or just the differential itself? Differential itself, if you're taking your time in front of the TV, 20, 30 minutes at most. I could probably fly through it in about 15 minutes quickly. And that is just flying through it, not even thinking about it, maybe even faster than that. But overall, if you did everything, the chassis, the frame rails and all the other stuff, front suspension, I would say just commit to sitting down for about an hour to do everything. Depending on your skill, you can be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. It just depends on your skill set and whether or not you have the tools for the job. Obviously, using an Allen wrench compared to, let's say, nut drivers that have bigger handles on them are going to make a world of difference, right? So having good tools goes a long way, and it definitely helps out quite a bit. All right, let's change screens here, guys. Okay, there we go. All right, so a little bit about this car. This is my second car that I own, and this one was supposed to be left stock. I just wanted a stock car that I can call people out on and hop with and just enjoy and not worry so much. That only lasted for about a solid month. From what you guys can see, I got the Mob Audio Mic Raft Special baseline sound system installed on this one. It does have its own amplifier. I cannot show you guys everything that is underneath this body because there are some things on it that we're still working on, fixing some details on to make sure it's a good product for you guys. So let's see here. Take this body off. Okay. All right. So, from what you guys can see here, everything is stock on this vehicle. Nothing's really been changed on it. Let's see, let me move it in the camera. There we go. Nothing really has been changed on it. It's been pretty much a stock vehicle. I'm going to lift this camera up just a little bit higher here, guys. My apologies. There we go. Okay, here we go. Ooh, let's move that down. All right, perfect. All right, so here's the chassis. It's a stock chassis. And what we're going to be needing for this specific job is going to be, in essence, a 1.5 millimeter driver. I love my Mob Audio as well, man. And I know a lot of guys out there that are like me. I like building my own audio systems, and I've done it. I was one of the first ones to post a video about having speakers on their car, aside from the ones that Mike offers already. And it's been one of those situations where, comparing the two, I might get a couple more decibels in how much louder I can make it, but it's nowhere near as clean and crisp as the System Mic Raft makes. The guy really does a great, phenomenal job tuning his boxes for his speakers, and it really shows. So definitely, if you guys are in the market for one, don't hesitate. It's definitely a good way to go. So, little trick, guys, and I don't have a rag here with me, so I'm gonna use my t-shirt. When you guys are trying to remove the knockoffs, and the knockoffs are really tight, and you guys don't know, how you guys want to remove them without damaging them, what I do is you get a set of needle nose pliers, and you want to, in essence, hold on to the exterior. Let me see if I can get a better angle for you guys. Here we go. And you want to be able to, in essence, spin them off. But before you do that, if you get your t-shirt or rag and you place it on there first, like so, before you spin it off, it'll just allow you to not damage the knockoff and loosen it up. So I know if a lot of you guys want a tool and this and that, you can do a lot of different things in that fashion and get creative with it, but it really just takes something that simple to do. Let's see. Jesse Macias is in the house. Mike Raff is in the house. Man, great guys all around. So again, guys, we're going to start with our 1.5 millimeter driver. And we're going to start by simply removing the screws to the lower links. And you know what? Because I see a really nasty glare, I'm going to make one more quick adjustment and move the light back just a hair. There we go. Perfect. I think that'll help the lighting situation a lot more. So we're going to start by removing the two lower 1.5 millimeter screws that hold on to the actual links on the bottom of the axle itself. Let's see. I'm going to maximize this so I can blow it up for you guys. There we go. All right, 1.5 millimeter driver. We're going to start by removing one of the rears. And honestly, we're going to be removing the axle completely out of the vehicle itself so that then we can do a swap on it. I know that for a lot of you guys that own a 64, this is nerve-wracking beyond belief to do something to this extremity, but it's not a big deal. It just is removal and reinstallation. Keep track of where your screws go, and that will go a long way. Once you take off the lower one, you can just move your link off to the side. And then I can remove the lower screw that holds the lower part of the shock mount, of the shock cup. So take that off. Denny's in the house. What's up, Denny? Good to see you as always, brother. All right, we're going to remove the lower shock screw. Like so. And when I remove these two, I'll sit there and I'll literally compare them. And I'll be like, oh, no, they're the same size. Because then you're like, oh, wait, well, did that go on the top or the bottom? Thankfully, the same size screws are used for the lower links as well as the shock mounts. So now we have undone the lower link and the shock mount on this side. We'll put the hardware off to the side, and then we'll get started on the opposite side. Removing the lower screw to the lower link. Gold suspension parts are not in the talks right now, but I'll be happy to share those with you guys so that we can, or share them with our team that you guys inquired about them. And if there's enough, folks interested, then, yeah, it might be something you guys might see in the near future. So we love the suggestions, and if you have some, by all means, go for it. Harvey Pryor's in the house, and I'm glad Harvey's here because Harvey had his first experience taking his RC car out to a baseball field the other day, and it was nice and wet, and unfortunately, it turned into a multi-hour cleanup job for him. I know that for a lot of us that have been in the hobby for a while, we hate that. But Harvey, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you reaching out yesterday, asking if I can let everyone know about that, and so that other people are aware. So much love for that. All right, so now I have released the lower links, the shock hoop mounts, the lower shock mounts, sorry. And now we have the upper links left and the drive shaft. Drive shaft is, again, a 1.5 millimeter hex that we'll take off. All right, almost there. All right, got that out. We'll remove that half of the drive shaft, and that's off. Now, these upper links are not held on by screws. They're actually snapped onto the ball ends, similar to what we see on the front suspension of the vehicle. So here you can do a couple things. You can literally pull on them, and they'll come off like that. If it's a little tighter, you can always get some pliers, some snips, and don't actually snip to tight, but just cup the bottom of it and rotate. And there you go. You guys can see the cup balls are right there where the mounts, upper link mounts mount to. And again, these are very similar to the ball studs that are used on the front of the suspension as well for your steering tie rods, and I believe the rack and pinion as well. So there you guys go. So we have the axle out. Just took a few moments to take off. We'll set this bad boy off to the side, and we will get started with the swapping of everything. So there was something that I noticed right off the bat. Like I mentioned before, tolerance was a big thing. Things were tighter. What I recommend you do is line up in configuration the axle with how you're going to replace it. So identify the top, because that's where you have the ball end studs on, and the bottom. Grab your axle and kind of set it in the same sequence so that you don't mix yourself up. Using a set of pliers, unless you have a set of a nut driver that actually fits the ball end stud, you can use that. But if you don't, a small set of needle nose goes a long way, and I'm just going to start removing the ball end studs. This is where I personally like to start because it tends to be the most tedious. And once you get those out of the way, it's like, all right, off to the next thing. Let's see here. So what do you guys got going on this weekend, man? Who's cruising their 64? Who's hitting switches? Who's going out and crawling? I want to know all of it, man. What's going on, everyone? All right. All right, remove that, the right ball end, and usually you just go ahead and start threading it in. This is that moment where I was telling you guys that it's not that simple because of the excess chroming that was done, layered a film over the entire axle. So I'm hoping that this can be seen here, and it's right in here. Come on, focus, focus. No, okay. So what I tend to do, guys, is you see the nut driver, it's got a little tip on it, the 1.5. What I do with that is I literally go into the hole that I'm going to be threading this ball end stud into, and I just kind of slightly ream it out. I'm not putting excessive force on it or anything crazy, just trying to get it to remove some of that slight chrome finish so that I can get that new ball end stud to start threading in easily. So I went ahead and I cleaned the two upper really quick, and sometimes you're going to notice that once you start putting it in, you might have to do a little bit more. It's always better to do it gradually than try to ream a hole out and then that's it. You know, there's no replacement for displacement. So take your time with it. So now that I reamed that hole out just so slightly with that 1.5 millimeter driver, the same driver that I used to tear this apart, I can start the ball end to thread, at which point I grab my needle nose pliers and or a wrench if you have one that size, and or an actual driver that fits it as well. Unfortunately, I don't have this size with me, but I'm taking my time, making sure I don't damage the chrome finish or scratch it, because, I mean, you don't want to do that, right? The whole purpose of this is to make sure that the bottom of our cars look clean as can be. So, all right, so here we go. This one's almost tightened up all the way, and then I can start on the opposite side. And again, I'm just taking my time, making sure that I do not scratch or mar the chrome finish on the axle housing. All right, and there we go. Now we're going to start on the opposite side by removing the ball end stud on the black housing on the opposite side that we just removed previously. So there we go. Taking your time, guys. Again, this is one of those things that if you're not, okay, let me put it this way. In the RC industry, in the hobby in general, not even the industry, just as a hobby with people, I've come to find out that there's a couple of different kinds of people that enter the hobby. Those that don't think they'll ever enjoy and hate working on their RCs when they first get them. And then they tend to start tinkering with it and actually find that they really enjoy it. And it's almost like therapy to wrench, right? And then there's those other folks that out of the gate, it's just a big heck no. They don't want to wrench. They don't want to do any of that. That's not their gig up. They just want to play, and that's totally fine. Wherever you find your fit in the hobby is totally okay. There is no cookie cutter format for which way you should react or behave when it comes to whether or not you want to wrench. I personally find a lot of peace when I wrench, unless I'm with you guys, because you guys like to give me a hard time sometimes. Just kidding. But yeah, this is wrenching at home. Again, I'm that guy that I'm in the garage. I got music playing. I got maybe some YouTube videos going on of some of my other favorite builders in the hobby. And I'm just picking up tips, picking up ideas, so that when I'm ready to build, my next project, I kind of have a sense of idea of what I want to do with it, because, hey, you know what? I saw so-and-so do this. I like that. I'm going to try that, but I'm going to do it, a little different with my own flavor, my own style, my own flair. So, find your spot and what you like to do. Another great thing that people tend to forget when it comes to RC cars is do your proper maintenance. Clean your cars. especially, I mean, in the 64, we keep them clean anyways for the most part. But if you're into bashing and you're into off-roading, taking your vehicle home, dusting it off, getting all the dirt out of rocks, sand, out of all the nooks and crevices is really huge. It's a must, especially if you want to keep it for a long, long time. So there you guys go. I then swapped the ball end studs to the top there from the old axle. We'll lay this back down in the same configuration again so I don't mess myself up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the hexes and the hex pins. Hex pins can, at the beginning, can be very tight. If they do get tight, I'll show you a little trick that works really good. But I'm going to take off the hex pin, which is right there. And again, that one got tight. You get your set of needle nose and you put them underneath, and then you can kind of work it up as you go. This was really tight. All right. This one's going to make a liar out of me. Oh, sometimes it be like that. All right. So then we'll go with the opposite side. You get your snips, put them underneath. You're not tightening them. You're just getting enough to pop it up. As you can see, like I did right there. Remove it, remove the pin, like so. There's your hex. If I can just get this other one off, it'll be golden. Perfect, there we go. All right, so the hexes and the pins are out. Now you should be able to see an exposed 3 screws on either end. These are the retaining, it's like a retaining clip that keeps the shaft inside. Hopefully it'll show itself to you guys. There we go. You guys can see the 3 there. 1, 2, and 3. So we'll start by removing those 3 on one side. Teddy's still waiting for the official Redcat Racing Toolkit to be released. Okay. You never know, man. You never know. I'm saying, Teddy, if you end up getting it before I do, though, bro, I'm going to be a little upset. I'm going to be a little salty. I'm going to be like, where's my toolkit? I want a toolkit. I want a 64 logo toolkit. That'd be cool. So after I remove that retaining clip or retainer with the 3 screws, I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side. And again, making sure I'm lining this up in the same configuration, I'm going to remove the axle shaft by literally just pulling out on it. When you pull out on it, the bearing will come out with it. It has a C-clip on the back end that'll keep it intact. So we're going to lay that off to the side right there, and then we're going to remove the opposite side. Yes, the Redcat t-shirts are actually very soft. You're right. Let me see. Make sure I can answer these questions, guys. Sorry. Also, will you be offering chrome caps for the bearings? Not at this time that I know of. I believe what we have out is what we have out as far as what we're going to offer. But again, if there are suggestions and enough for it, drop a suggestion in the comments, and I'll make sure that all the good ones I can bring to the table and say, hey, my community would like to see this. Is this possible? Hey, the community would love to see this other thing. Could that be done? So I'm always open to suggestions, guys. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the diff cover off the back of the axle to expose the ring and pinion inside of the axle housing. Art, a good place to get a toolkit, man. There's a lot of great places. I personally am a big fan of MIP. You can get MIP at your local hobby store. You can find MIP products on Amazon, Aiming Hobbies, you name it. There's lots of places where you can get them. MIP would always be my first choice just because of the longevity that they last. This is what the MIP drivers look like right there. Another one that I like is Reefs RC's new one. The reason why I like this one is because this is kind of cool to keep in your travel bag when you're out crawling, or you're, let's say you got your 64 and you have, something that you keep extra batteries or stuff in. It holds everything in one so that you can keep it nice and secure and use it as needed. So lots of options out there. When it comes to tools, again, I've spent a lot of money on tools that stated that they're the best and have had really bad luck with them in the past. I've even purchased Snap-on drivers from actual Snap-on, and they did not last anywhere near the length that MIP would, or any of them, honestly. This is some off-name one that I had made with my name on them. I cannot remember the name of the brand, but this is going on maybe 3 years. This nut driver alone is probably around 4 years old already. So MIP, good stuff, lasts, test of time. Highly recommend them. All right, so now that we have the diff cover off the axle housing, we can then remove the ring and pinion. Let it fall into your hand, just like so, okay? And then if you get a piece of paper or something like so you can place it on top of, because it does have some grease on it. This is the part where everyone has been getting their butts kicked. And I'm so sorry, guys, that that's happened. And it's the actual pinion. That's the ring. This is the pinion right here. The pinion, normally you just push on it and the whole thing would come out. The pinion on this axle is a two-part pinion. So because there's grease on it, you can't really see it, but there is a screw, a 1.5 millimeter screw inside that you have to take off to separate the two halves. When you spin one side, you're going to spin the pinion on the outside. So you can do one of two things. You can get a driver that fits the hole, put it inside, so that then you can leverage to remove it. That's one thing you can do. Another thing too is if you have, again, some pliers, it has a flat spot on it. You can hold on to that flat spot and then start removing the 1.5 millimeter that holds the pinion gear in place. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people had really struggled with that. So once you remove that, remember there is a bearing on this side, on the outside and the inside, that is going to have to be transferred. Taking your nut driver, you can poke at that bearing and it'll pop out in your hand just like so. Because that's the one I just took out, I know that it's the one that goes on the inside. So I'm going to immediately grab my axle housing, drop it in, make sure that it's in place. Thankfully, when I removed the second half of the pinion, it already had the bearing in place. So we're going to install it from the back end. I'm going to keep my finger keeping the other bearing in place inside the axle housing itself as I start poking this one through and working the bearing into its final resting place. What tends to happen is when I do that, it pushes the bearing up a little bit. No problem. Holding it nice and firm against the table and using your driver, just push the bearing gently back into its pocket. Go ahead and take your pinion that you already removed and put it back in place. It is keyed, meaning that it can only go on one way. It has a square notch where it fits in either one way or 360, 180 the other way. Once you do that, then you can go ahead and reinstall the tiny screw that was keeping it in place, which is right here. I tell guys all the time that when they start to get a clicking sound in their rear end, to check this, because sometimes not enough Loctite was installed on it from the factory, and if they loosen up, they can cause a little bit of a chatter sound. So you don't need to over tighten it, just good and tight is all you need. And there it is, it's installed. I'm pulling on it, making sure that the bearings are seated, that they're not flopping around, which is good. And now we can reinstall our ring gear. Ring gear has 2 bearings, one on each outer side of the gear assembly. You see this opening right here in the middle, or sorry, at the end. That opening is where the teeth are going to fall into. It will not fit the opposite way. This only goes on one way. So slide it back in place, spinning. You can grab the lower part of the pinion and spin it, and it will spin the whole assembly. We know we're good. At this point, you can take your diff cover and start reassembling it. On these, I have not found that there's a huge need to work the screw, you know, or open up any of the hole on it. It's the handful of ones that I've done have all been fine with no issues at all. Just the mounting portions of the shock links and the ball studs is the only thing I noticed that I needed to kind of just ream it just oh so slightly with the tip of my nut driver there. Michael Myers, yeah, ProTech is really good. Yeah, they're decent. I've had a lot of tips break on them, unfortunately, over the years, but I also have quite a bit of ProTech tools as well. ProTech is made and sold, distributed by Amy and Hobbies. Great bunch of guys. They do a lot of good stuff over there. Check them out if you guys ever get a chance. Their shipping is amazingly fast. All right, so now we start the assembly process. Now, if you're like me, I could leave this alone, you know, and just put this black hardware back on. But I actually have on order some hardware that will hopefully make it look a little more scale. I'm not sure if it's going to fit just yet. I have to wait for them to get here so I can do some final measuring. But they might end up looking like the top of bolt heads in stainless, so that hopefully it looks a little cleaner. So if it does work, I'll share with you guys those details as we go on the page separately once they arrive, so you guys can check them out. We did talk about and toss around the idea potentially, you know, looking at stainless steel hardware for the whole entire car as a kit, if people wanted to do that, to just add a little bit more of shine anywhere you can. All right. All right, so diff cover is back on now. All right, spin that, feels nice and smooth. Here is the next step that has unfortunately given some people some trouble. When you go to install the shafts back in, which is the next step we need to do, remembering that the bearing is already attached to the shaft, when you go and install it, you need to make sure that that bearing seats where it should. And one of the biggest problems that we had was it not wanting to seat all the way. And because of it, there we go. That one seated nice and flush, which is what we want to see. The first one I ever did not seat nice and flush. And because of that, it caused the end caps to not fit properly, and it caused almost like some binding to happen. Let's see here. I'm just trying to find the key. There we go. And what I like to do is I get my needle nose again, and I'm going to place them on the bearing, the face of the bearing, and I'm just going to push down to make sure that everything is nicely seated. Again, because of the fact that these were sprayed with the chrome finish, tolerances might be a little bit tighter. So take your time, be patient with it, and you're going to get it, and it's going to work just fine. So there we go. I'm spinning both sides. Everything feels nice and good. So, all right. So now we can start the reassembly process. And you know what? I still don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to just see if I can push that down just a little bit more so it's nice and flush. All right, perfect. And what I'm talking about is right there. The bearing face should be on the inside. That little nub is okay being exposed on the outside, but the bearing should be sitting flush inside, so that when you start to install your cap, the cap is nice and flush. And I know that a lot of you guys were asking if these can come in chrome. It would be nice if we could. At this time, we're not offering them in chrome, mainly because when we first thought about doing these, we were looking at the things that were going to be exposed that people would see. And no one's really going to see this unless you plan on doing an over-the-top build where you, like the real lowriders, you know, have it on display with the wheels off, mirrors all around it. And if that's not you, then it may not be feasible to add these chrome retainers as well. Greg James, today we are showing folks how to swap their axle housings on their 64s from the black plastic to the chrome housing kit. All right, so I'm going to start installing all the screws back onto the retainers on the ends. And then we'll start installing it back on the car. All right, they're all in, still smooth, still smooth. All right, so now we will bring the car back over, or actually, you know what we could do is reinstall these hexes back in place. Perfect. Install your hex pin there. And then your 12mm hex on that. And that one's tight. All right, let's see here. Why is this one so tight? Let's see if we can take this off and assess. And see, this is what happens sometimes, guys. I mean, when parts are being made of plastic, sometimes you get these things, and of course it's not the housing that's the issue. It's unfortunately this hex that is just not fitting really well. And it looks like it's just, yeah, it looks like it's just a little dirty or something. So, all right, let's get this axle back on the car though, so that we can start the installation, and I can always put that hex pin on at the end. I'll grab a different hex because it happens. All right, so here we go. Ball ends, as you can see, are right there. That's actually going to be flipped upside down because those are going to be at the top. So grabbing, snapping that one in place. Same thing with the other side. Snapping that one in place. And we can reinstall our lower link mounts. Taking our hardware. And what I like to do is, you may want to start threading them a little bit, and then you can start the installation process. It always feels weird when you're trying to do this in reverse to show people what you're doing compared to how I would hold the car working on it, you know? Tony's got to go watch the Padres play the Diamondbacks. I don't really watch the Diamondbacks. I'm an Oakland A's fan. So, good luck, Tony. Best of luck on your team, bro. All right. So now we're going to take the other lower link, set that in place. take our hardware, start installing that. Ooh, that one went nice. Okay. Back that up just a hair. Perfect. All right. Secure and tighten that. Good. All right. At this time, I'll probably want to do the drive shaft. So I'll put that on. You definitely do not want to miss this step afterwards because it can be quite a pain. Again, everything that I've used really is going to be just one nut driver. And again, it's a 1.5 millimeter nut driver. Great, James. Go Blue Jays. See? I'm going to turn this into a baseball battle. I love it. All right. Now that the axle's in place, the last thing we need to do is mount the shocks back in place. So let's start with one side and work our way to the other. Greg, I actually did not have to add any grease. Upon removal, the factory grease was still in place. You can use all kinds of grease. Cow RC makes probably my favorite grease for RC cars. But you can always use some caliper grease from your local automotive store. On my crawlers, I use marine grease. You don't want to use something extremely thick, but you also don't want to use something so thin that it will dissipate in the heat. So, yeah. But this bad boy, again, was brand new. It had a lot of grease on it. There was just no need to really put any excess in there. But if you do find that yours is dry, marine grease is always a great way to go. Greg James. Yeah, marine grease. There you go. Right on, brother. No, Rich, it will not interfere with adding the chrome frame at all. In fact, when you do the chrome frame, one of the things you're going to have to do is swap over the ball end studs on the outer sides. And you're honestly going to have to take off the rear servos off the car to access screws underneath there to release the chassis. That's probably going to be the biggest pain to do. So when you do that, I would recommend doing it at a time where you can sit down and do it all at once. Front suspension and the chassis. It's one of those things where you really, if you haven't done a lot of teardowns like that, it just makes it a lot harder to keep track of everything. If you've done it quite a few times, like you just work on your car a lot, then it's not going to be a big deal. You have a little more established photographic memory. So now we're going to install the wheel. And there we go. All right. Obviously, we have the other side, and unfortunately, this hex is going to fight me, and I don't know why it has such low tolerance. This might warrant a need for a new one. It also might warrant a need for me having to clean it up a little bit, which, unfortunately, it's going to be harder to do on camera, especially with the tools that I have in my hand at the moment. So let's give it a shot. What I'm doing, I'm grabbing the end of the needle nose, and I'm just putting it in the hole, just taking off some of the slag or lag from the plastic out, so I can hopefully get this thing to just slide on for me. All right, where's the pin? There we go. Just cleaning this up a little bit more. Okay, so I got it to start, put the pin back in because it fell out. There. Put our wheel back on. Put the knockoff back on. And you don't have to tighten it the way I removed it. Hand tight is just fine. All right. And there you have it. Rear axle is done and installed. So, transmission would be the next easy thing to do, in my opinion. It's 4 screws that hold the transmission to the chassis itself, and only 1 screw that holds the drive shaft to the output shaft. Then you can take it apart. There's 3 gears and some bearings to swap from one housing to the other, and you're all set. So, all right. All right, guys. Perfect. All right, so now we're here. So now you guys saw some of the little things that I'd recommend when you're doing your axle swap on your 64. It's not crazy, just meticulous. You want to take your time, do it right. And because, as I mentioned, some tolerances differences between the stock housings and the adding of the chrome could make some things just a little bit tighter. So take your time, don't force things, but at the same time, be mindful that the tolerances might be a little bit tighter. So putting things in, such as bearings on the end of the axle housings, might be tighter. And sometimes getting the screws to initially start might be a little bit harder. It is by no means extremely hard to do, or even hard in general. Just practice patience and you should be okay. Some of the cool stuff that we also offer, aside from the housing, as I mentioned, is the transmission housing that we offer for the 64. We also offer the cam, which is the hopping mechanism for the 64 as well in chrome. We also offer, which I'm happy about, is the V2 upgraded toe-in correction parts in chrome, so that when you replace them with the chrome ones, they should be the correct angled ones to help get rid of that crazy toe-in situation on the front when you're fully locked up. Front suspension arms, uppers and lowers, big must. The trunk pan as well is going to be big. You got to do it all, right? When you take off the trunk pan, you'll actually find that there is the ballast weight. There's a lot of ballast weight plates inside that kind of helps with tuning the car's total weight for hopping so that it hops best. There's also a little tiny ballast weight inside of the frame itself. You're going to want to remove that from the stock black plastic and put it on the chrome one before you reattach everything. It kind of almost looks like a fishing weight, but like an oval fishing weight. You know, it's kind of weird, but you'll see it as soon as you remove it. It's not that big of a deal. And then, of course, the highly anticipated full frame rail kit for the 64 as well. So lots of cool stuff. You guys should be able to order them online right now or pick them up from your local hobby store. And it'll just make a nice, great project on a Sunday afternoon when you're just trying to chill and just do some wrenching. Talking back about the gold kits. Gold kits are awesome. I've actually have had a little bit of a time to play with them. They fit great. I haven't had any issues with fitment. There are some things you need to do. When you replace the front bumper, right here, there are lenses for the turn signals. This kit does not include those lenses. Do not throw your bumpers away. You're going to have to remove the caps and to have the screws, which are 1.5s as well, and transfer the lenses from the chrome bumpers to the gold ones. Unfortunately, I've seen some folks that ended up throwing them away thinking they were done with them, and garbage man already picked up the trash. So don't find yourself in that situation. But the gold kit, it does come with, in essence, the chrome, the exterior chrome of the car. So it'll come with the antennas in gold. It'll come with the badges, the front and rear main badge where you have the Chevrolet inscripted. Those will be done in gold. The bezels for the rear will be in gold as well, from what you guys can see there. See that? So even the bezels around the taillights are gold as well. So it will come with a sticker sheet, actually 2 sticker sheets. One of them is going to be your gold trim that goes down the side of the car, as well as the gold trim to replace all around the windows. If you buy a clear body kit and you're going to paint and you buy the gold kit, you're just going to supplement using the stuff that came with that clear body with the gold stuff so that you don't apply and then reapply and whatnot. The second set of decals are going to be the red stickers for your taillights, as well as the grill that the radiator, the faux radiator sticker that goes behind the grill, as well as badges and so on. So this should suffice all of your trim needs for the car to get your car looking proper in gold. So if there are any other questions, please let me know. Harvey wants gold for his Gen 8. That's what's up. Why did the front cross member separate from the frame? Which one are you talking about, bro? The front cross member from the frame. Tony, if you're going to come up with good questions, Tony, come up with good ones. Come on. Why is it separate? What is separate? What's separated on you? Explain to me, so that I can best answer that question. What's up, Luke? What's going on? Let's see. All right. Okay. So, put that off to the side because, again, you guys can't see much of what's on that. But yeah, so the gold kit, in essence, why is the front crossover with Redcat logo separate from the frame? And actually, the one with the, if you're talking about this piece right here, that one actually came with the trunk pan itself. And that one has a Redcat logo on it. That's just the way they bundled it. I don't know why, above my pay grade. But yeah, end of the day, everything that we could chrome in a quick, simple matter for you guys to mass produce them has been done and they're offered. So if you are in the market for upgrading your car, your 64, adding these cool features, order them today, add them to your car. And if you have any questions, reach out to our support team. They're here to help. And that goes across the board on any warrantyable or even non-warrantyable questions within Redcat. So if you have any problems with your product, you can reach support. Check out our website. There is a link to file a claim if you have a problem with your car. We're here to help, and we want to make sure that you're enjoying your car to the best of your ability. If you don't want the trunk, Tony, then you don't buy the trunk. That simple. All right, guys, much love. I appreciate you guys. I hope I answered all your questions, and I hope that today's feed at least helps you guys feel a little bit more at ease about doing this swap. As I mentioned, if you're going to do the frame rails, do the frame and suspension at the same time, and I recommend doing it in one sitting, especially if you've not had one of these apart. Now that I've had about 8 or 9 cars completely torn apart and put back together, I can do it with my eyes closed, and I can probably do it all in less than half an hour. But for those that have never done it before, expect to sit down from anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on your skill set, to do everything from beginning to end. So put on a good movie, enjoy, and if you don't do it within that time frame, it's okay. Take your time. Just make sure it's done right. If you have a microfiber cloth or a chrome or a cotton t-shirt, an old one, keep that with you so that when you're done and you're starting to install the frame rails underneath, that you give it one more wipe down on everything to get rid of your fingerprints, because once it's in there, it's going to be a little harder to clean all those hard to reach areas. So that'd be my other pro tip for you guys for the day. Let me see. Louis, unfortunately, no, we don't sponsor. We just sponsor me. I'm the main sponsee. I get all the cool stuff. Yeah, that's all I carry it on my back. Just kidding. But no, guys, much love on the real. I hope all of you guys have a great weekend and can enjoy your guys' RCing cars, whether it's bashing, crawling, or hitting switches. I hope today's episode was, again, fundamental and helpful to you. And if there are any more questions, please let us know. We're always happy to help any way we can. From all of us here at Redcat to all of you, have a great weekend. Enjoy, be safe, and we'll see you guys next week on next week's show. Much love.